Hey guys, so we're super excited to come to you today and talk about one of my absolute favorites, Stress Away. And it is one of Young Living's most popular oil blends. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You'll see that mine that I have here is an older bottle. It's because I stocked up on this at one point, and I'm still going through some of this is my last of my older bottles. So just know that if you ordered it, it might look a little bit different, but it's the same stuff, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about what is in Stress Away that makes it so amazing. So one of the oils in Stress Away is copaiba. Copaiba is high in beta carotenoline. Kara can say that one, I can't. But and the reason it's in there is because that component is an amazing anti-inflammatory, has an amazing anti-inflammatory action. Copaiba is great for digestion, for aches, for stiffness. It helps with nervous exhaustion. And an interesting fact about copaiba is that up until 1929, it was listed in the pharmacopoeia as the #1 analgesic, #1 painkiller and anti-inflammatory. So not in there like that now, but up through 1929, it was listed that way. And it also it relieves the kind of stress. I mean, we know that stress produces inflammation, and so that is one of the reasons that copaiba is in this blend. It also has lime, which is stimulating and refreshing. It helps with exhaustion and listlessness. And the other thing that lime can do for us is when we're stressed, and if you're anything like me, you tend to go towards certain foods that aren't necessarily good for us. For me, it's chips. Like, I'm a big chip eater, especially when I'm stressed. It's like that's a comfort food. Some people go toward beer, some people go toward other foods, but a lot of times it's foods that aren't necessarily supporting our bodies in a healthy way. And what lime tends to do is it works with our stress receptors to help bring us back and in a way kind of shut the door to cravings that aren't the best for us. So it kind of shuts down those stress cravings that we might get. So a great thing about lime. Cedarwood is also in this blend. Cedarwood is highly oxygenating to the cells. In fact, it is one of the highest oxygenating oils we have. It's calming. It relieves nervous tension. When we think about stress, it actually reduces, or it can not reduce, but it constricts the blood flow, which lowers our oxygen levels and causes us to breathe shallower. So when you have something with cedarwood in it, it causes that oxygenation to elevate. And so that is what we need in stress-related situations. Even after 11 seconds of breathing cedarwood in, they have proven that it can increase the oxygen to the brain by 28%. So within 11 seconds, you can see a 28% increase of oxygen to the brain, which is super amazing. Okay, this blend also has acatea. You guys, if you don't know about acatea, you should. It is an amazing oil. It's in this blend, and sometimes it's out of stock, so as a single, but I would encourage you to go get it as a single too. It helps with emotional balance. It's also really good. So think about another thing that happens with stress is it elevates it flares our blood sugar levels, and acatea is one of the oils that helps with that. I'm just going to tell you, it smells amazing, the acatea, and acatea, and I want you to remember this as we talk about something a little bit later, but acatea has kind of a cinnamony smell. It's not like cinnamon. It's not as hard as cinnamon, but it's like a cinnamony smell with a little bit like if you could imagine a smell of cinnamon with honey and maybe a little bit of vanilla, that's what Ocotea smells like. So just remember that as we're talking a little bit later. This blend has lavender in it. It's relaxing and it promotes general well-being. So when you think about lavender as far as stress, if you're putting lavender is one of the best things to pull you out of a stress pattern. So like if you're putting lavender on your brain stem when you're in a stressful situation, it's kind of like sometimes when we get in those stress patterns, it's Sherry Ross talks about it as being like you've got your foot on the accelerator and you forget to take it off the accelerator. And trauma can cause that, extended stress can cause that, but it can cause a stress pattern. And lavender is actually one of the best oils to pull us out of that stress pattern, to remind us to take our foot off the accelerator, the stress accelerator, right? Okay, this one too has vanilla in it. So some really cool things about vanilla is we are the only company in the world that hold a patent for distilling pure essential oil, vanilla essential oil. It's not a perfume. It's not the alcohol reduction thing, those other things that you get elsewhere. This is a pure vanilla essential oil, and it makes it quite a bit different than other things that you see out there. One of the things about the research on vanilla and the fragrance, so there are a couple of fragrances that calm and quiet down our stress receptors. And it's different in men and women. In women, vanilla is the fragrance that causes that stress receptor to quiet down. In men, it's the smell of cinnamon. And so going back to the Ocotea, that's where that cinnamony fragrance in Stress Away comes from, as far as a stress, calming down the stress receptors in men. So that's kind of a breakdown of what's in this amazing blend. What is Stress Away great for? Well, it's great for normal everyday stress. And if you're using it consistently, I would encourage you to use it consistently, because it keeps you from getting into that place of chronic stress, which becomes a downhill spiral to your health. Chronic stress in any form, causes a lot of other things to go wrong in your body. And so chronic stress is like, you're just the beginning of a downhill spiral. So using Stress Away on a regular basis prevents you from getting to that place of chronic stress. You get better sleep. It brings about a sense of peace and overall tranquility. It restores equilibrium to your body. It lowers hypertension. It improves your mental response. How do you use Stress Away? Well, it's in a roll-on like this, but it's also in a bottle form. You apply it on your wrist, the back of your neck. A really great thing would be to put it in your hands and just kind of massage your scalp with it. Put it in Epsom salts, get the bottle form, put it in Epsom salts and take a relaxing bath, or even apply it to your body before you get in the bathtub. Diffuse it heavily. Now, here's the thing about, and this is true about diffusing in general, but particularly with Stress Away. If you're going to make, your room is going to smell amazing if you use, 7, 8, 10 drops of this. But unless to get the true therapeutic results that you might be looking for diffusing Stress Away, you're going to need 20 to 25 drops in your diffuser. Gary used to say that people don't use enough oils when they're diffusing, or they don't use them often enough. So like if you're not a person who diffuses all the time, you might want to reconsider that. Like, why do you have a diffuser? It's so that you can have stuff in your diffuser diffusing all the time in your home and keeping your environment full of life-giving oils. But just know, to have the therapeutic effect, you're going to need to put more oils in your diffuser than just smelling, having it smell good there. You can also take stress away internally. I know it's not in the vitality oil, but it is one. Think about what's in it, and most of those are in vitality oils. You can take stress away internally. Okay. Think about if you put stress away on your wrists, it takes less than 2 seconds to get into your bloodstream, and it takes about 11 seconds to get to your heart. So that's pretty quick action there. The fastest way to your brain is through the nose by inhaling and diffusing it. The second fastest way to your brain for oils to get to your brain is through the roof of your mouth. And if you're putting oils on your brain stem, it will pull you out of fight, flight, or freeze. So stress away is a great one to be putting on your brain stem for that reason. Many people huff the bottle, just take the bottle and start huffing it. If you have tightness in your back and shoulders or head, that's a great thing. Another thing, people are concerned about sun sensitivity because of the lime essential oil in this blend. Just know that the molecules for the sunset, they kind of split the molecules. The sun sensitive molecules are not present in the lime in stress away, so you don't need to worry about it being sun sensitive, which is great because excuse me, one of my favorite ways to use stress away is to put it along my jawline. I am a clencher, and especially if I'm concentrating really hard or stressed, I will clench more. And so I love putting it along my jawline. I like putting it on my wrists. People who suffer from TMJ, this might be one that you want to try and just see if you find some relief from that. But even before bed, putting it along your jawline is a great thing if you're a clencher. I love, love, love stress away in the diffuser, you guys. The smell is so amazing, and it just brings an immediate sense of relief of tension. I've used this one on horses many times to relieve stress. And here's an interesting thing, and you guys can probably relate to this. It's interesting that we all hold what we call invisible stress in our bodies. And this is true of animals too. You don't think they're stressed, like you might be working out with a horse that doesn't seem stressed, but there's a lot of internal stress going on. And you see it when you put an oil like stress away on, like even with yourself or with an animal that you're working with. All of a sudden, there's all this release of tension that just starts happening. In horses, a lot of times they start licking and chewing, they start blowing out, they lower their head. That is a sign of release of stress and tension. With us, I don't know about you, but just try it. And any kind of stress relieving oil, but stress away is a great one. And you will find hidden stress, what you think is hidden stress and tension leaving your body. Okay, some other things that some oily friends are doing, and I have a couple of testimonies that from some people. So putting a drop or two of stress away in your mask. Those of you that are having to wear masks on a regular basis, I hope you're putting oils in your mask, but stress away might be a good one. You guys, applying it before you enter a stressful situation, visiting a friend in a hospital, going to a job interview, having a hard conversation with a friend or coworker. Even like these days, going to the grocery store can be a stressful situation. And I would challenge you guys to the idea that we owe it to our friends and neighbors and those people we're around, especially now, to be applying our oils on ourselves heavily so that when we go into an environment like the grocery store or wherever we're having to be, and people, like, the fragrance of our oils is infiltrating that situation. And I challenge you guys. I had two people come up to me at church this weekend and say something to me about how amazing I smelled. And I just feel like we owe it to our friends and neighbors and people in our community to be helping spread the oils in environments where maybe there aren't oils being spread. Okay, just putting that out to you guys. And Stress Away would be an amazing one to do that with. Okay, another thing that you can do with Stress Away is add a few drops to some coconut oil and use it as a beard oil, like for the guys, for the men in your life. Here are a couple of testimonies that I'll share. So one oily friend had spine surgery, and she took it with her to the hospital to use during her 6-hour pre-surgery wait. And after surgery, it came with her to the ICU. She was able to watch the monitor as she smelled the aroma. Get this. And she was able to lower her blood pressure on the monitor. She could actually see the blood pressure lowering as she smelled the Stress Away. And that's amazing. I've seen that happen too. We've seen applying oils to people in the hospital, or even like Jerry, and seeing the monitors, like a change in the monitors. Okay, another person shared that her very first experience with Stress Away was life-changing for her. She was really, really upset about something, and she just couldn't shake it. She was just upset and angry about it. And her husband suggested that she go put some Stress Away on, and she even argued with him about, well, why? And she was upset, not stressed, right? Why would I need Stress Away? Well, she went and did it, and she said within seconds, she was like, what just happened? Where did that feeling go? And ever since then, that's been one of her favorite oils to go to. So over and over, people have really experienced Stress Away in an amazing way. So liquid, I wanted to share with you like a bliss balm, and this would be to put in a roller. And it's 1 dropper of citrus CBD, 10 drops of lavender, 10 drops of Stress Away, and 10 drops of Valor, and then fill with liquid coconut oil. I think that sounds like an amazing roller blend. So I thought I would share that with you. So anyway, that's what I've got for you for Stress Away. Like I said, it is an amazing oil. It smells amazing. Oh my gosh. If you guys aren't using that on a regular basis, what's keeping you from using your Stress Away? So what have you guys got on Stress Away?
When I started with Young Living in 2009, that I started right before convention, and I went to my very first convention in 2009, and that was the year that they released the Stress Away roll-on. So it was really cool. This blend for me is like, I remember it from the very beginning of my oil journey. This blend, Gary asked a group of people if they wanted to help him name it. So Stress Away was actually named by members in Young Living in 2009. So this was one where it was helped to be brought about by Young Living members. When my daughter was about 3 or 4, we had moved for a very brief amount of time in with my in-laws. My grandmother died, who my daughter was really, really close to. And Joe had actually been laid off from his job and went back to school for the job that he does now. So there was like so much transition that happened in our lives in a very brief amount of time. I think she also, because we moved, she switched her daycare provider. So one of the things that she did as a coping mechanism was she tried to control her bowel movements. and refused to go. And I did a whole bunch of research. I was like, oh my word, if this doesn't get taken care of now, it will plague her for the rest of her life. So one of the things that it said was to just train your body to go to the bathroom after you eat. Go into the bathroom and make sure that you sit there for 20 minutes. And you have to do that after every single meal. And we struggled for forever. And one day I came home from work and I asked Joe how long Sophia had been in the bathroom. And he's like, well, we're coming in on the end of 20 minutes. And I don't know why, but I just had this feeling I needed to grab my Stress Away. I walked in there, I painted her thighs with Stress Away. I just walked in there and just like coated both thighs. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm home from work. All right, I'll see you. Still have like 3 minutes. I'll see you in 3 minutes. Get out. I leave the bathroom, stand outside the door. I hear her go to the bathroom. I hear her wash her hands. I hear her come out and she's like, all right, I went, I'm good. And my mother-in-law and Joe were like, what the heck just happened? And I was like, I don't know, I just put Stress Away on her. So then it became like let's see if we can make this work. So I would put it on and she would go immediately after sitting down. If you waited, she would hold it. And if you did it like right before the end of the time limit, she'd go to the bathroom. It was amazing. And I'm like, this blend is saving my sanity, my daughter, everything, saving my relationship with my husband because it was traumatic for all of us. So many changes and so many things we couldn't control. And she was just trying to take control of something and it was ending up harming her. So Stress Away became her favorite. And then later when she was in like elementary school and she was losing her teeth, you know how kids like, they're always touching their loose tooth and wiggling it and it's just gross. I found out that the inflammation from her teeth was going all the way up into her jaw and it was closing her eustachian tube. So then it was causing pain and stuff. So I was like, what can I use to help her not only protect her immune system, but also like help with the trauma that's happening to her teeth? So I said, hey, let's try a couple things. Stress Away was the clear winner. So she would put Stress Away on her gums where she had a loose tooth. And then as she wiggled it, she wasn't getting sick. She wasn't getting like a weird runny nose. She wasn't getting anything else. She was not getting her eustachian tubes closed up, all of those things. And it just saved us, like completely saved us. So, she's a pretty tough kid anyway, but she would get a tooth wiggled to a point and she'd come up to me and she's like, all right, I'm ready to pull it out. And I'm like, okay. So she'd grab a Norwex cloth and just rip it out. Just pulled her own tooth out. Just scared my mother-in-law to pieces. But she just had absolutely no fear or stress or whatever from this whole situation. And it was helping with her immune system. But I love Stress Away. It's one of our family's favorites, because Sophia was using it in her mouth and she loved the flavor of it. I started talking to other Young Living members at the time because it used to only ever be available as a roll-on. And they were telling me like, yes, it tastes amazing. We love it. And one of the people who at the time was doing a lot of training for corporate, he was using it in his water to help with his weight loss journey. So he really pushed to get it put into a 15 ml. So when Stress Away first came out, it was only roll-on. It took a while before it was available in the bottles with the droppers on it. And it was originally like encouraged, add this to your water and drink it for your weight loss journey, drink it for stress help and all this other stuff. And it doesn't have a vitality rating, but if you look up all the oils, like what Bonnie said, there's GRAS ratings for all of them. And we feel really safe using it that way, since that was the original intention of the 15 ml anyway, was for it to be used that way. And then the other thing that we've all noticed since it came out in something that we could pour it into our diffuser, the vanilla will separate. So my tip with Stress Away is before you put it in the diffuser, make sure you swirl it around or pound it on your hand and incorporate the vanilla into the blend a little bit more before you diffuse it. Otherwise, if you get brown spots in your diffuser, that's your vanilla, and you're going to use all your vanilla in one shot if you don't stir it really well.
I'll add into this one. Bonnie talks a little bit about horses. If you have dogs, this is another good one that you can use with your dogs. So what you're going to do is just put it right on like the dog's ears, so like on the tip of their ears, or you can put it on their feet. You can diffuse it if there's thunderstorms or and they're afraid of that, or you're traveling with your dog. Stress Away is one of those ones that is good to be doing that with. The other thing that I'll add, I don't think we talked about it, it's good in the tub. So just if you want to take like 8 ounces of like your Epsom salts and baking soda, and then put like 8 to 12 drops of it in there, because you want the oils to attach to something. You don't want to just drop it in the tub or else it's going to sit on the top of the water. So you're going to just put that in your tub. It smells amazing. And then I have a 15-year-old daughter who is enjoying diffusing and making different blends. And so besides the Stress Away this itself, she does various combinations of that with lavender or peace and calming, or mixes all 3 of them together. And they do smell pretty amazing when you mix those combinations together. So otherwise, I think the girls covered everything I can think of. Those are the only things I would add in.